Hey guys, how you doing today? Just got out of the shower, so my hair's looking kind of wet. House sitting for someone today, so I don't have a shot of my dog. He's away with them while I'm house sitting. A nice adventure for him. I think today I want to talk about the CERB. If you hear a cat meowing around here, by the way, there's a cat meowing around here. I won't show you the cat because I don't have permission from them, and I don't feel comfortable with that. So, in any case, today I want to talk about the CERB and Justin Trudeau's decision to pursue fraudulent CERB claims and what that means for the future of the basic income movement. People who have been involved in the basic income movement have been paying very close attention to which way Trudeau jumps once the CERB comes to an end. I think to me, the real tipping point was when the senators said we should do a basic income, and the Liberals basically were silent on that issue. They didn't release a comment. They didn't really say anything to the senators writing that letter. I think that means every indication is that the Liberals have no intention of moving forward with the basic income. And now with this proclamation that they are going to be moving away from, or they're going to be charging people who have fraudulent claims in the CERB, I think that gives us every indication we need that the Trudeau Liberals have no intention of moving in this direction to actually pass a basic income. It's a real shame. It's a real shame. The Trudeau Liberals are... I think the thing that's really annoying about the Liberals and what this really outs, and they've been doing this this whole time, right, is that they understand what the right thing is to do. They know what the right thing is to do. Justin Trudeau shows up at climate protests, right? But then he goes back and he buys a pipeline, right? So he's a fraud. He knows that passing a basic income is the right thing to do because that's the measure they fall back on when there's an emergency. So when there is a national crisis that we have to move on, what's he do? The absolute right thing. He passes a basic income style idea. But now it's time to continue that policy, and it's time to actually help people who are going to fall into unemployment, who are going to fall into poverty and homelessness, as people already have been doing because of the failure of the neoliberal experiment. The religious ideology doesn't work. It's not an economic system. It's a religious ideology, as I've been saying this whole time, and it's failing, and it's going to continue failing. And the Trudeau Liberals are not going to do anything to prevent that, because to me this makes them as dangerous as the Conservatives. The Conservatives are open fascists at this point. They have leadership candidates who are being unchecked, saying that they want to pass Trump-style policies to criminalize anti-fascist sentiment. If you are criminalizing anti-fascist sentiment, that makes you pro-fascist. So, as far as I'm concerned, the Conservatives are open fascists. They are running on fascist policies. Neoliberalism is a complete failed ideology. Even on the face of it, the Conservatives are saying what we should do is completely destroy all social services and hand control of the society over to a handful of corporations and lower their taxes. Oh, hey, we'll lower your taxes too while we're at it, because you'll be completely subservient to these corporations in the first place. So, and that's their position on the face of it. Like that's not even something that we debate about. Their position is to dismantle social services and empower multinational corporations or supranational corporations who don't care about you at all, except to try and get you to buy their shit. And the Liberals are worse than that, because the Liberals want the same thing, but they pretend like they don't. Right? They go to climate change rallies. They say to First Nations people, we genuinely care about the issues of First Nations people, while they invade their territory and try and use an oil company to try to jam a pipeline through. the Trudeau Liberals are essentially the Democrats of Canada, in that they're better than the Conservatives at propaganda, but they're enabling their policies at every turn, right? Like we all hated Stephen Harper and tried to oust him because he wasn't really doing anything on the climate change issue, and he wasn't he was just doubling down on neoliberal policies. Well, the Liberals have built more pipelines and have done worse than the Conservatives ever did. So this sort of hack narrative that says that the Liberals are working for us, I don't think we can buy that anymore. I don't think that's something that we can bother putting our chips down on the table. The Liberals. So what can we do from trying to move this policy forward, right? Well, my view is that we have to abandon the Liberals en masse and join these protests that are going on in the world and demand that we reverse the trend of neoliberalism that has completely failed us and will continue to completely fail us. I consider myself a centrist on this particular issue, by the way, right? Like, I don't consider myself leftist at all. This is how far to the right the politics has gone. Like, we have a far-right fascist party, and then we have a right-wing party, which is the Liberals, and then we have a somewhat centrist party, which seems to be the NDP, and then we have a slightly left-leaning party, which is the Greens. And the Greens are only slightly left-leaning because they're environmentalists, right? Which is odd to me that that's a left-leaning policy in the first place. So I am my centrist position is that, neoliberalism has obviously failed. I think you have to be a complete dunder to think otherwise. And it doesn't work for anyone, least of all, even the people who are supposed to be benefiting aren't really benefiting. Like, does it matter if you have an extra $1 million, if you have $5 billion? Like, does it matter? And the amount of civil dispute and the amount of civil unrest that this has caused, like, I think that we should reverse the trend of neoliberalism, and I think that that would be to the benefit of the billionaire class. Because the next stage of this, like the next stage of these civil uprisings, is showing up at these billionaires' houses with guillotines, right? That's the next phase. Just take a look at what's going down in the States. You tell me if that's not going to happen, right? People are already showing up to these protests with guillotines and things like this. Like this, we're in a serious sort of a place. The trouble is that these protests are being co-opted, and they're being, I shouldn't say they're being co-opted, but they're being funneled in a direction, right? They're being funneled in a very specific direction, and that very specific direction is racial issues. And as long as the protests continue to be talked about in terms of cultural racism, like, neoliberal corporatists are completely fine with capitulating on issues of race, right? And they'll make the biggest deal they possibly can about it when they do. They'll make it the most absolutely outrageous show, so that they can really show you, like, oh, this is such a big deal. What an unprecedented thing is happening. And they'll make it a really, really big deal, as long as you don't talk about economic issues, right? As long as you don't talk about issues of class, as long as you don't talk about economic issues, they will completely capitulate. They will let you disband police departments. They will let you restructure the entire system of policing. They will allow you to do anything you want, take down any statue you want, put up any statue you want of any racial figure you would like to see. Absolutely. As long as you keep working for them, as long as you keep selling all your time to them and going in and buying their garbage, right? As long as you continue propping up the system of neoliberal corporatism, they don't care. They're more than happy. They are more than happy to bow on these racial issues and pretend as though they're actually doing you a favor while doing it. Just do not talk about this as a class issue. And as long as that continues happening, then we're going to see homeless people in the street. Then we're going to see poverty rise in our countries. We're going to see our generation, my generation, the millennial generation, as well as all coming generations, just get ground into the earth, right? Like, the millennial generation has been fucked over more than any other generation. Like, I've experienced, 3 economic collapses now, riots. Like, I just don't think anybody anybody who wants to tell me that, oh well, you're so lucky you got this toy that we force you to have, or you can't participate in the society. It's gotten to such garbage positions. Just, I understand completely why people are frustrated and why people are rioting, because they're not being listened to. And right now, people feel like they are being listened to because the corporations are lying down on racial issues. But very shortly, people are going to realize, and it's going to happen very soon, like, people are going to realize, like, oh, yeah, all these corporations said Black Lives Matters, and oh, we actually made some headway here with our policing, but I'm still not able to feed my family and not able to pay my rent, and I'm still seeing lots of homeless people around, and I'm still seeing a society that's torn itself apart. I wonder what's going on. And one of the big ways that we could solve that is with a basic income, but now we have a ruling elite that's made it very clear that they're not actually going to pass that legislation. They're not interested in passing legislation that works, that helps the majority of Canadians at the cost of... And the absurdity of it is that it would literally mean that the billionaires are just slightly less billionaires. You know, it's not even a policy that says, let's eliminate the billionaires, which I think we should do. As a centrist, I think we should do that. To eliminate the billionaire class, like, I mean, absolutely we should do that, but this policy is not even saying that we should do that. It's not even saying that these people aren't billionaires anymore. That's how despicable our politics has become, that we're totally fine with the idea that there's a couple of people walking around who are billionaires, while there are also people who are homeless living on the streets. Like, it's despicable. And the Liberals could absolutely resolve that. They could resolve that today. They know exactly how to resolve that. And but they refuse, because they're complete corporate stooges. They've completely bought into the neoliberal ideology. And they're more duplicitous and deceitful than the Conservatives, because at least the Conservatives don't lie about it. Right? At least the Conservatives are like, yeah, we'll make your life work worse, and we'll make the lives of other people, the same, right? Like, a billionaire is not better off for having a couple extra million, right? But we get off on hurting you. So, oh well. Like, just take a look at Derek Sloan. Do a Google search on Derek Sloan. You'll realize, like, the Conservatives are open fascists. But at least they're not lying about it. You know, they'll be like, no comment. But they're not lying about it. Well, the Liberals are, right? The Liberals are lying about it. They will 100% say to your face, oh yeah, absolutely. We're here to help the Canadian people. We're here to ensure that everybody's doing well. We want to make sure that the lives of the average Canadian really improve. They're not interested in that. That's just bullshit, right? It's obvious bullshit at this point, because we know exactly how they could do it. They could pass a basic income. That would do it. They could reverse the neoliberal theft that's gone on in this country, right? But the problem is that they're completely complicit in it. They still have Bill Blair. Bill Blair is one of their ministers, for God's sakes. Bill Morneau is one of their ministers. Like, I mean, these are guys that aided in the neoliberal agenda. These are guys that built neoliberalism here in Canada, right? Like, Justin Trudeau's not going to help you. And I know that there are people, like, in the basic income movement. I know for a fact that there are people who are like, oh, but we've been talking to the Liberals so much, and we've been pushing them, and it looks like you're being played. The Liberals are playing you, because the Liberals obviously don't care about you. Obviously, the only thing that's actually going to make a Liberal move on any issue that helps anyone is if we abandon them and move to the left and go with the NDP. That's the only way. That's the only way Liberals actually move on anything, is if you make them scared that they'll lose power, right? And right now, you take a look at the polls, and everyone's like, "Oh, the Liberals are doing such a great job in the middle of this pandemic," and it's because they've played you, right? Like, sure, the CERB helped lots of people, but they're more than happy to sell the society back to neoliberal capitalism. They're more than happy to do that. And once millions of people are suddenly unemployed and getting evicted and getting thrown out of their houses, the Liberals will just sit back. They'll just watch that happen. They're not going to do anything. At this stage in the game, if you are in favor of the basic income, there's only two things that you can do. One of them is effective, and the other one is okay to do. The okay to do thing is support the NDP, write the NDP, let them know that this is the issue that will get your vote. I think that that's soft. I mean, anybody can do that. It takes 30 seconds. Just do a Google, who's your representative, right? Figure it out. It takes no time whatsoever. But the actual thing to do is go find these protests, right? Get on the street, protest, make your voice heard, organize the people around you, strike, form strikes. I know that's what I'm going to be doing. Like, when I get back to work, the first thing I'm going to do is walk up and down my street and start talking to workers and start being like, hey, this is bullshit, right? We've been robbed. And our lives are getting significantly worse, and they're not going to get better. So I think it's time for people to start acknowledging that we need to abandon the Liberals. They're not our allies. They never were. They were just good at propaganda. Because the only issue that I think would prove to me now that the Liberals actually genuinely care about human life more than they care about power is if they passed a basic income, and they're not going to. They know that that's true. They know that that's the solution. They understand that. They're just not going to do it because they have masters, and it's not you. All right, that's the end of me. Good luck out there, guys. Like, share, subscribe. Continue fighting the good fight. Bye.